You're listening to Tapestry, a podcast by a music lover for music lovers. I'm your host, Kelly. Music is a thread that weaves a course throughout our lives. Join me on a journey to unravel that thread and bring you the stories behind what inspires musicians to create. Side note, Tapestry is an uncensored podcast. Don't say I didn't warn you. Hey everybody, thanks for listening. This is episode 41 of Tapestry, where today I had the chance to talk with my local Pittsburgh friends here in the Appalachian desert rock band Jakethehawk. We covered a couple topics, including how excited they are to be able to reveal their new riffs to the world, but can't do that thanks to coronavirus, how adversity shapes musical expression, and some profound thoughts on how maybe your local music scene isn't that special, but why that's okay, plus some stories about having to go number 2 on tour. You're listening to a little bit of a new track off their upcoming album called Ochre and Umber. So, today I have Jakethehawk with me today, remotely, and all sporting various amounts of facial hair in this quarantine lockdown life we're living in. So, guys, thank you for being here remotely, and usually how I start my interviews is just to have you kind of each talk about yourselves, your musical history, and just introduce yourselves so everybody can hear your voices and tell us a little bit about yourself. You're like, who wants to start? Jordan looks ready to start.
Jordan looks ready.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right. I guess I'll go first. I'm Jordan Lober. I play drums. I guess my musical history, I don't know. I started off in like concert band and stuff. I started off playing trumpet in 4th grade, and then I switched to public school, and then started taking up drums and percussion, and I've kind of been playing ever since. So, yeah.
Fair.
And then I listened to a little bit of everything, mainly a lot of stoner rock, and also some classic rock as well. As of late, I have been listening to almost exclusively the new King Buffalo release. I think it's called Dead Star. It's really, really good and catchy and hella dope. Everyone should check it out.
Hella dope.
I really like the one song on there that sounds like John Carpenter wrote it.
Yeah, that's a really, really cool little interlude track right there.
It's one of my favorite parts of this is learning about people, but also coming away with tons of recommendations, so that's good. John, you started to say something. Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is John. I play guitar and sing in Jakethehawk. I've been playing guitar in my bedroom most of my life. That's not very interesting. And lately I've been listening to the new Mjörker album that came out in March. I've been listening to the new Traveler album. And I've been listening to Lucifer 3, and then I'm really looking forward to the new Elephant Tree album that's going to be coming out, I think the 24th. Super excited about that. So that's what I'm listening to right now, and then also listening to a lot of Neil Young, because we just got invited to do sort of a tribute to Neil Young, where a bunch of different bands are going to be contributing tracks. So I've been kind of we got the track figured out we're gonna do, but I'm just now I'm just excited about it. So I've been diving through his catalog just because I've always been a big fan, but now I'm just extra interested because I'm excited to hear what everybody else is gonna do.
Yeah, now you're stoked, and Justin's nodding his head in agreement. So last but not least,
Justin Lober, Apparently the twin brother of Jordan, played bass, and I Grimace in Jakethehawk. And musical history, I started playing guitar probably 13. I did play double bass in orchestra throughout high school, so I have a little bit of a bass background in that regard. I used to primarily only play guitar. I had a couple bands in high school with Jordan and stuff, mostly, punk stuff. Terrible metalcore band called Donner Dinner Party, which apparently is a board game now, and I feel that I'm owed royalties.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Feel
slighted.
So, I felt slighted because everybody, whenever we came out with it in high school, they were like, "It's not how you spell Jeffrey Dahmer," and I'm like, "Have you read a history book? It's Donner Dinner Party. It's great." What have I been listening to lately? I've been with my daughter the last couple of weeks, and so we listened to toddler tunes on the music channel, which is awful. But she also really enjoys Parliament. She has a thirst for funk, and she listens to a lot of prog rock with my dad. She loves Yes.
Nice.
So but it kind of been on a P-funk kick the last.
You gotta play her some Zappa. I'm sure she'll love all the random fart noises and stuff.
I mean, she's only 11 months old, but she still laughs at every fart noise she hears. So yeah, probably.
She's never too young to listen to the Black Page #1. It's fine. She'll be she'll be playing it in a couple months from now, I imagine. But you know what? I actually really like that you guys kind of just innately were like, "Oh, this is what I've been listening to." And now, granted, okay, so as an introduction to this episode, Jakethehawk, you guys are all people I know in real life. I've seen your shows. We've had beers together. We've partied together. We've whatever. But, I still feel like I'm delving into a lot of your own personal histories about what you like, because I find all three of you guys have a pretty interesting musical background. Like, let's just say you don't listen to stuff that I guess I would assume that you listen to. But I appreciate that you guys really, I guess, work in a lot of disparate and varied interests and influences into your work. So let's talk about Jakethehawk. Let's talk about how this crazy Appalachian desert rock band that we all here in Pittsburgh love so much came to be. I also want to say, too, that it was a good omen. I was painting the front of my house today, and I heard a hawk scream in the distance, so...
nice.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, it's a sign. So I've heard the story of how the band name came
we
to
didn't
be.
Intentionally pick a mascot that is ubiquitous in the area, but it was very lucky.
I was just like, oh, it's here. So how did you guys come to be, and how did you end up creating the music that you create now?
Well, my mother met my father in the 80s. And
when a man loves a woman outside the bar.
And I was going to quote a Tom Segura joke there, but I think it might have been a little too gross.
Thank you.
Goes,
Thank
John.
you for sparing us.
Yeah. And then there's life. Well, I knew... I never met the guys before the first time we ever played. My brother, who used to be in the band, went to school with them, and that story's been told several times. But basically, I wanted to start a band with Jake, and he knew these guys, so we got together and we played, and it went pretty well. And Jake's not in the band anymore, but this was back in 2016. But yeah, the first time I ever met Jordan and Justin was the first time we jammed together, and it went pretty well, and we just kind of kept at it, and we got along famously, so we've been, barbecuing meat and playing riffs ever since.
It's weird. I cannot think of you guys sometimes as separate individuals, which is really unfair to you because you're all great people on your own. But I just see you as Jakethehawk. That's you. But I think that's
I take a lot of pride in the fact that we usually roll as a unit. It's pretty rare that we go to something and we're not all there.
Right.
It's
a squad.
There's a funny story I like to tell about how a few years ago, Shy Kennedy hit me up to see if we wanted to do this show And she was like, yo, do you want to play this show? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And she's like, well, don't you need to, like, can you confirm it with the other guys in the band? And I was like, oh, we're standing in a room together right now.
Yeah,
we're standing
all in the
at
same
the
room.
table. It's, you know, it was like 3:00 on a Sunday. And we were standing around drinking Miller High Lifes or something. Like, yeah, we're in.
Yes, we're a hive mind and we operate as a single unit.
You can usually just assume that we're hanging out in some capacity. So
You guys are actually all in separate rooms right now, though, I think, right?
yeah,
Correct,
that's
yeah.
actually this is an odd thing for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also had to keep in mind too. This is my first interview actually with a touring group right now since the coronavirus thing. And you guys do a lot of extensive touring, like around our area in Ohio, Pittsburgh, Kentucky, West Virginia, all that stuff. And I know you guys love it because obviously you tape your tour videos, and like I know you have really tight knit connections with other bands that are kind of in this whole area. How has that affected what you guys are working on and how you're working on music together and alone?
Well, we were originally because I'm not working at all right now, and the dudes have both been working from home since before the lockdown happened, really. So we were like, well, we're still gonna practice because we hadn't really been going anywhere and being around anybody. But then like 2 weeks ago or something, Jordan's girlfriend, who he lives with, was potentially around somebody who potentially tested positive. So, and Jordan's fine and everybody's fine, but just for the sake of the community and being safe and aware and everything, we decided we're not going to hang out with Jordan for 2 weeks. So Jordan's been chilling, and then and Justin's, it kind of works out because Justin's building a new computer right now anyway. So we So we've been just doing a lot of pre-production demos because right now where we were getting ready to release an album, and we're trying to talk to labels and stuff. But right now everybody doesn't know what's going on with their business and if they've got a job or what's going on. So it's kind of tricky to be like, hey man, do you want to invest a bunch of money in my project?
Right.
So it's been like radio silence from everyone we've talked to since then. But so we're like, okay, well, we're just going to get to work on the next project because we already have a lot of songs that were written, and we just kind of refining them and getting pre-production demos together and just writing a lot. And then, but I'm hoping that we'll just get back to, once Jordan's clear of his 2 weeks, which will be on Tuesday. We'll find our schedules align and get back to jamming because I miss it. I miss playing because we usually practice quite a bit. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, preferably twice a week. I mean, from my perspective, I'm out in Johnstown right now because when I have my daughter, I'm usually at my parents' place for right now, just because it works out best for all parties involved. And I mean, I have my bass here with me. I've been practicing. I kind of have like a little headphone amp type thing. It's been kind of difficult to, I don't want to say get motivated to practice, but it's a totally different kind of feel whenever it's like, hey, let's just go and jam and we'll write a song or do whatever. And then if I sit by myself, with headphones on, I might come up with a couple of cool riffs and stuff, but I'm not going to be able to walk in with Jordan on rhythm. I'm not really going to be able to, it's good for, not that it's good, it's easier to write riffs, but I don't really think that, at least myself, I'm really doing well at constructing whole songs. So it's been a little difficult, but we'll get back on the horse here in a little bit, and it's pretty much just like full steam ahead. We have a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty good home setup, so I'm able to do some pretty high production demos, and been kind of writing some of my own stuff also. So I mean, I've been working on stuff, and I mean, I feel like we're going to hit the ground running for sure as soon as we get back to playing together again. So that's good. I'm feeling I'm just like kind of in just, it kind of ebbs and it flows, but I'm just kind of at a point right now where have been writing a lot and been feeling like very inspired, very creative, and kind of doing some different stuff. So I'm pretty excited right now, and I'm just really antsy to like get back and put the rubber to the road. And
I think that's some of the tragedy of that too, is like, depending on your musical personality or your style, you might be a prolific writer when you're by yourself, but then when you work with your band, that's when your chemistry really shines. And hearing that you guys were sitting on a bunch of new material, that's the part that sucks so much, because it's like you're just ready to roll it out, you're just ready to release it to everybody or put the finishing touches on it, and then it's like, oh, fuck you can't. And yeah, just talking to other people about that's what's so sad, because you don't want it to kill your momentum, but I feel like it likely sort of does. You can't be all in a room together right now.
I mean, I feel like it killed our momentum, like from a business standpoint, and like we had to cancel shows and stuff, and like when we get back together and play, we're gonna be a little rusty, but I don't think we're gonna be that rusty, because like we've been doing this a while, and I think as soon as we get back together, you have a flub here and there, but I think we're just going to be just as tight, and we're going to be just as jamming as ever. And I feel, from a creative I feel like we have just as much creative momentum as we ever did, especially because now we're kind of like holding it back. We're just like really ready to go. Like I think the first time we get together and practice, and like, one of these like new tracks that we have post the new album that's done, I think we'll jump into one of those things and we're just going to tear through it, just because we're just amped.
I'm ready for like an 8-hour day. Like I don't even give a shit. Like I'm ready to just like bang this out, get pre-production together, send them out to our dudes so we can start getting like tempo maps and everything planned out for going back in. And then I just like want to unleash it. Essentially, that's what I'm most excited about. You kind of, like we're holding back right now, but I feel like it's kind of good, like holding in like a Kamehameha, or like a like charging Sonic as he spins really quick, and then he kind of zooms. That's a terrible analogy.
I got your
you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
We're building energy, building momentum, and I think in the long run, it's gonna definitely pay off.
So
that was probably the nerdiest thing you could possibly have said, Justin.
Hadouken.
I haven't even started.
The Jakethehawk trebuchet is reared back and ready to fire. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, what's even talking about like that kind of like technical stuff, what's great about the technology right now is like, as far as tempo maps and stuff, like I can like essentially, other than the drums, because Jordan can't really record them in his own apartment, but like, we'll have, by the time we get back together, I could very easily have like all the tempo maps for all these songs done and all my guitars recorded for pre-production. So then it's just an issue of just Justin on his own time putting bass on and Jordan on his own time. Because what we found worked really well for our previous album is would make tempo maps for everything, do scratch recordings, demos of everything, and then we'd take that demo into the studio, and then in the studio replace each part.
Oh, okay.
And that was our scratch track for the final recording is our own demo, which is really nice, because that way when you're in the studio you know what you're going to do. And so I'm still able to do most of that work on my own, which is great.
Yeah, it's a big help. No surprises. That's kind of the big thing. You know exactly what we're getting into. And since John's the principal songwriter, it kind of makes sense that, he's kind of building the structure of everything, on his time, and then it's just up to me and Jordan to kind of, build our rhythm section out of it.
Right.
So it's actually working out pretty well, I think.
Well, being that
all
too,
things considered.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys have had some lineup changes. You've had a guitarist depart. You've had your former singer depart, but you three are always sort of the core people I think of when I think of Jakethehawk. And so going back to how this has been challenging in some ways, but in other ways it haven't, what would you say is kind of that glue that keeps you guys together?
From my perspective, I think it's, I'm a pretty, like Justin likes writing riffs, and I'm kind of like a big picture kind of songwriter guy. And so we like work really well together because we don't really step on anybody's toes. Like, I'll be like, hey, I got this lyrical idea. Justin's like, cool. That's your department and this. And then as far as like, I think everybody has their own department that they're all really good at. So we don't really step on a lot of toes. Like everybody has their role, and that works out really well. And I think that's why we're kind of, we don't really butt heads a whole lot, just because we're not anybody, kind of competing to do the same thing, is at least my perspective.
From my end of things, the way how Justin and Cam bring things together, it makes my job just a little bit easier, but also allows me to do all my fun things. Allows me to have my cool jungle grooves, and then they entertain me with some cool some cool riffs that are made just for me sometimes, and it's pretty nice. I mean, it's just we all work well, like really really well together. So I just kind of, I guess.
Yeah, I think we like the music that we write, and we get along, and that's kind of how it is, and we're pretty tight as a three-piece. So that's not to totally derail that conversation, but can we just talk about how fucking cringy it is every time somebody says the words technical difficulties? It's like someone could break a guitar string on stage and they'll be like, oh, we're sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. It's like, say anything else. Like, say
literally anything else.
Say anything else.
Who hurt
or
you,
like,
John?
Hurt you.
I don't know, list of. I was actually watching on YouTube the other day. I don't know if it was Decibel or Metal Hammer or something, but they were asking people different questions and bands. And actually, I want to ask you guys this, and Kelly also.
Great.
But one of them was, what do you think is the lamest stage move ever, and what's the coolest stage move ever?
Oh, I love being podcasted on my own podcast. I actually highly encourage it, and I think I'm gonna try to work this question into future conversations.
It's a funny YouTube video because they ask everybody these questions, and they're very funny.
Lamest stage move and coolest stage move. Oh my God, I don't even know if I have a good answer for that. I have a pet peeve about vocalists cupping the mic the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like you can go ahead and be Lemmy if you want. You can have your own spin on your mic angle or placement or whatever. But when I see like deathcore vocalists like deep throating their microphone, it bothers me a lot. It's just weird.
A lot
also,
of things bother me about deathcore vocalists.
It's unsanitary. It's weird. I don't know. That's my pet peeve.
It's not good. It's not good mic technique either. Like it's.
By the way, I'll tell you what. The Shure microphone people are fucking loving this pandemic thing. 'Cause as soon as this ends, every band is gonna go start buying their own mics, and no one's gonna use house mics anymore.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, that is a really good point. But let's
SM58s for everybody.
Yeah, that's all I have. That's not what we're recording this on right now, but that's actually weirdly enough, that's actually what I have my drum kit mic'd with, because that's all I have right now, even though those are not really drum mics, but it's working okay. But
They work.
They're for everything.
yeah. Is that what you're using right now, Jordan? Is that an SM58?
No, I'm not entirely sure what this is.
It looks like an
one.
SM58.
Yeah, it looks like one.
It's a PG4 4446, I think.
Well, you sound great, so
thank you.
Let's finish that round, I guess. What are your answers to that question? Because I do like that question. I'm still thinking about what the coolest stage move is. It might be the I've had him on my show too. The singer from Moontooth. He always does like really crazy like stage leaps and gets in the middle of the audience, but he only does the vocals. He doesn't play instruments too, but at the end of their gigs, they usually will grab a specific kick drum that he brings just for him, and he'll just like beat it, and it's very cool. That's my answer.
It's awesome.
I'd say the lamest one, and we're gonna go back to deathcore on this one, is any kind of like coordinated, synchronized, like crab walk, or like guitar, or like swinging your guitar around.
Dude, every other person on Metal Hammer said the crab walk. Everybody said that was the worst one.
It's honestly it's stupid. even whenever I was into deathcore, whenever I was like 15, I thought it was lame then. But I'm not sure if I have. I don't know. I hate whenever I see people, like, even if they bring out like a really low quality guitar and like smash it. And
Yeah. It seems extremely wasteful to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Jordan?
So I was gonna go with the synchronized like crabbing and stuff like that because I always hated that shit whenever I saw it like on like a local level and whenever I saw it on like on a national level. But coupled with that, I'm gonna have to go with the like the guitar swings. You know,
Yes.
whenever
That's
they
that's dangerous. You can get like hit in the head with a headstock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you could hurt yourself. You could screw up your gear. Your guitar could go flying off into, the crowd. It's and it doesn't look that cool. But in terms of cool stage move, I don't know. Coming from a drummer perspective, I like a good good stick tricks.
Stick tricks are always great.
Yeah. Especially whenever they incorporate them into and just keeping time pretty well. It's always awesome to see.
I'm with that. I gotta say, my least favorite one. I know the video is not going to be published on this, but I'm at least going to show you guys. It's the new metal Korn headbang where they're like fucking down like this fucking shit.
Like
leaning
Jesus
over
Christ!
Like in a half
just
squat.
Like, I mean, I hate new metal. I hate everything about new metal. And I hate the entire new metal aesthetic and just like that. So just that just like any like macho tough guy stuff kills me. But then on the other end of it, my favorite one, and there's only one band that can do this, and it's probably the most macho tough guy band of all time. And they're the only band that can do this. But I was thinking about it when the guitar players in Rammstein, and no one else could do this, and it would be cool. But there's just sometimes when those guys, they'll like be playing the heaviest riff ever, and they'll just fucking stand still, or if they're not playing, they just fucking cross their arms. And it's just because
too manly to be emotionally affected by this.
And then sometimes they freak out, but it's like, they're just like these greasy German dudes just standing there with their arms crossed, just looking at you. And I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, that's so fucking tough. And if it was any other band, it would be like totally dumb. But when they do it, I was like, oh man, that's awesome. And then I like a good synchronized windmill as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Those are pretty fun. It's always amazing to me when I go to shows and I just realize how many people have long hair. Like, so many people that you can pull that off. But yeah, okay, I like that question. I think I might incorporate that in future ones. I had a feeling when we talked that, I typically write questions for all my guests, but like, I know you guys, I know how you are, and I always look at these as more of a conversation anyway. So I'm like, how do I even approach a structure to this, because I know you guys are opinionated in the best way and you have all kinds of things to bring up. So going from there, though, I do want to talk about the material you have written, and I think, John, you had sent me one of your new tracks. Well,
I think I attempted to send you a new track called Ochre and Umber, but it wouldn't it only let me upload one on your form.
That would be my confusion, because I'm like, wait.
You were shit out of luck.
Yeah. Well, my bad. Well, because I haven't listened to it, because it didn't get sent to me correctly, and that was probably my fault. Tell me about the new track. Tell me about the new stuff, and what's it like musically for you guys? What direction have you gone in?
Well, it's very kids boppy. It's very kids bop inspired. It's very well, this is the first album that I'm the lead singer on. On To Build a Fire, Jake was the lead singer. I sang a lot of lead parts, but Jake sang most of it. But other than that, I mean, I think it's similar. It's more. I mean, like anybody would say, I think it's the best thing we've ever done, but I think it is. I think we have some more kind of, I want to say like shoegazy elements, like some real some kind of spacey, kind of washy parts, and I played slide on this album
Oh,
some,
nice.
which is just kind of a goofy thing I started doing live just because we had this one part I didn't know what to do with, and I was like, I don't fucking play with a slide, and it was great. So I've actually been, and I'm not a good slide guitar player by any means, but if you put on delay pedal, everybody's a good slide guitar player. So I've been doing like cool kind of slide stuff, and yeah, but I mean, it's still there's doomy parts and there's real poppy parts, and there's some catchy riffs. Um, in general, I think this is a fairly down tempo album, but that's just me saying a bunch of generic shit that if you haven't heard it, you didn't actually learn anything about it. But most of the songs are in D, brother.
Well, I mean,
There's a song. There's a song in B. So that's a fun key for us.
huh.
That's all. That's what I have to say.
Well, I know that your album To Build a Fire was definitely more of like it's a story based album. You know, you have like the 4-part songs, and it certainly to me is an album that you listen to start to finish instead of just picking a track off of it, kind of. But so I wasn't sure if you were sort of continuing that trend or what's different about that. But either way, I'm excited to hear it whenever the hell we actually get a chance to, be in real life again. So I'm just
Well, if you've, I mean, we've played all the songs from this new album live. So if you've been to one of our shows recently, you've heard them.
You've heard some, if not all.
Yeah,
yeah.
we've been.
Say, I think the last time I saw you guys at Gooski's, there was like 1 or 2, but I wasn't sure if it's everything you've got right now that you're sitting on.
Yeah, that was probably with Horse Burner when you saw that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we would have played a lot of that. I think. Oh man, I think that was the first show I actually played slide at. Now that I think of it, that was a fun show.
It was a very fun show.
Shouts out to
extremely
our
sweaty.
boys in Horse Burner. Yeah,
Oh, it was
shouts
very
out to
sweaty.
Horse Burner. Shouts out to Ugly Blondes. That was a good time.
I miss
yeah,
live
yes.
music.
It's. I don't know if Jordan has any kind of thoughts about how the new stuff is different.
I mean, we were a little bit more. I don't know. We took our time writing it this time around. I feel the last time we had a whole prior to T-Bath, we actually had a whole album of stuff written and pretty much recorded, and then we decided to basically put all that into, I guess, an archive. I honestly don't know where any of it's at. But then we decided to work on T-Bath, and we basically just wrote To Build a Fire pretty much in the studio. Aside from there's a couple songs where we did actually write it beforehand, but a lot of the stuff for me at least, I fleshed out while I was in the studio, and it was to me, I feel like it might have hindered the performance just a little bit. I don't think my parts were as good as they could have been for To Build a Fire, but with the new stuff, we actually kind of sat down over a couple months, or more, and fleshed out what sounded good, what didn't sound good. I was able to figure out what parts would sound good and what parts wouldn't sound good, and then doing how we with our pre-production style, the way how we did all that was just even made going into the studio even easier for me. But
yeah, it was a real breeze going into the studio, and even if it was recording a vocal harmony or something I couldn't remember, I could just tell Matt to just unmute just give me the vocal scratches or something just so I could check them. But of course we're still making up new shit in the studio. I mean, I had a vocal melody, but I wrote some lyrics in the vocal booth, and then I came up with the last track on the album, which is called Uncanny Valley. There's a guitar riff in that I came up with in the studio.
I've always been curious about how sort of being in that recording space is sometimes a catalyst for people to actually okay, this is now my last chance. This is my last chance to reconsider and see if there's anything that might work better.
Well, well, I didn't even change. It was just adding because I'm a fucking slut for layers. Um, like, I'm not gonna take that metaphor any further, but yeah, I'll be like, oh, well, there's a guitar lead here. Well, this needs a harmony. This needs another harmony. Oh, let's double that. Let's like, okay, cool. But now I'm gonna play the same melody, but on electric piano. And oh, like shit like that is I'll just like left to my own devices, I will do that shit for hours. And then like vocals on the album, a lot of this I was planned, and Matt was like encouraging me, but I was like, well, I sing a part. I'm like, this is cool. Well, I should put a falsetto layer over everything. And he's like, do it, man, or however he sounds. Um, so like the album, but I love it. That's what I'm into. Like the vocals are on the album are like really lush and just coming up with stuff. But yeah, that last track, Uncanny Valley, I came up with this like real kind of thrashy, not thrashy, but just kind of chunky riff that was just kind of a reimagining of the end part that was really cool. So it's on there and it just adds a new level of vibe to it. And of course, then playing live, you kind of got to decide which part you're going to play that's going to, carry the energy of the song the best. And that's actually the part I play live now of that ending section. And it's kind of difficult for me to describe. But yeah, so it just so happened like that's the part. So it was very cool. It was a great environment. I had a great time working with Matt, and it was a very constructive environment. It was I didn't really feel a lot of pressure. Matt's a great guy to work with. We're talking about Matt Berry of Very Tight Recordings in Sharpsburg, by the way.
Is he Matt who runs sound at Black Forge and stuff? Or
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, he hasn't ran live sound for a while. He did used to do that. Used to do a lot more live sound, but I think his last big live sound gig was like Andrew WK, I think.
Oh.
But yeah, he's mostly just straight recording now, I believe.
Oh, funny enough, dude. Actually, so his I guess one of the big name acts he recorded was Code Orange.
Oh.
And I was watching that
the
that Metal
thing.
Hammer whatever thing I was watching. And one of those questions they were asking people, they asked someone from Code Orange. And the person from Code Orange was sitting there thinking, and there was a KJL amp behind them. I was like, oh, man, there was a KJL amp in the studio we recorded in. Oh, man, that's Code Orange. They recorded in the same studio we recorded in. Then I realized that they were being interviewed at Matt's fucking place.
Huh.
And it was the same. And I was like, yeah. Oh, man, that place has purple walls, too. No way.
Shout out to Code Orange always. I love those guys. They're very nice people, despite their very aggressive image. Well, that's actually a place I could lead the conversation then is, because Code Orange is obviously from Pittsburgh too. Is there anything to be said sort of for the kind of close-knit nature of like the stoner rock and doom metal scene we have here? Like me personally, I think Pittsburgh, a lot of our music scene is really summarized by bands like you guys and, our mutual friends in Whorehound and like Brimstone Coven, all those types of bands. It just seems to be really, really popular here. But it feels like people just really dig the kind of music that you guys write, and they feel really compelled to support it. So is there something about where we live that you think has been like helpful to your success, or just seeing this type of music flourish?
I think you actually just made an amazing point without even realizing it, and that's the Brimstone Coven isn't actually from Pittsburgh. I mean, I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, aren't they like Wheeling or somewhere in the Panhandle of West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
It's still
like,
Ohio Valley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Martins Ferry, Ohio.
Martins
and West
Ferry,
Virginia.
Ohio, Wheeling area.
But well, I think I don't think there's anything, and if anyone cared what I said, they would probably crucify me for this, but I don't think there's anything special about Pittsburgh at all. I think what is special is just, kind of the underground community, and it's special everywhere because like when we go and play in other towns, it's like, you meet people that you feel like you met 100 times.
Yeah. And
it's just as rad everywhere as it is here. I mean, and it's like, yeah, and there's crap everywhere and there's cool stuff everywhere, and you just got to figure it out. Like, someone was telling me in Louisville, they were like, oh man, I saw this flyer for a show that was like, it was like a combination, like, meathead metal show and mud wrestling contest and reptile expo, and I'm like, dude, that's the dumbest shit ever, but they have that here too, you know.
They have that here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, everything's really globalized and everything's everywhere, and that's what I think. What I like, I don't see us as being part of the Pittsburgh music community first. I mean, we are, but I see us as being part of like the regional music community because, you know, we have so much in common with bands in other towns that we're good friends with, and if you go to another town, it's kind of the same stuff. So I don't think it's Pittsburgh specifically. I just think and it's not just our genre specifically, because if you could probably talk to somebody in, I don't know, like some butt metal band, and they'd be like, oh man, the community here is really great for butt metal, and they would have never heard of what it is that we do. You know, I think there's pockets for everything. And, you know, because of the internet, I think everybody's really, you know, people that have the DIY spirit really have it, regardless of what kind of music you play and where you live. And I think, you know, and there's an audience for that. People are into that, and it definitely exists in Pittsburgh, and we do well, but it exists in other towns too, and it exists in genres other than ours. And that's a super positive, inspiring thing.
Yeah, and to echo John's point, Cam's point, I'm sorry.
Echo.
Where me and Justin come from, it was very much similar to how it is now. It was very close knit. Everyone pretty much supported each other, and like in Johnstown, there was it wasn't just a stoner rock community. It wasn't just a metal community. It wasn't just an indie rock community. Because it was weird. You would have all those bands would play shows together constantly. So you always had, I mean, there was some shows that were, you know, only metal shows and this, that, and the other. But like more often than not, you were watching a metal band before or after a punk band or a metal band or a hardcore band or something like that. And everyone just had that same ideal of community. And even like they would tell you where to go for tour and stuff. Like the very first time I ever went on tour was June of 2009 with Justin in our hardcore punk DB band, and we basically set that up through connections that we made through Johnstown. And just people want to see other people succeed that they respect, and I think there's something to be said about that.
I honestly think that, although I would agree that, you know, yeah, the DIY ethic, it's going to exist in any town. You know, the best part about tour is you go to a brand new town and you meet the same 5 weirdos that are just like you into the same thing. They're in every town.
Right.
But I do think there is something to be said about Pittsburgh in that it's always been like the DIY ethic, regardless of if like, I'm not talking about DIY punks and hard. That's a whole other thing. But I think Pittsburgh itself has always been, and I don't want to go back to like, oh, it's gritty and pick yourself up by the bootstraps and we're a mining city. Well, not that, but it's always been. It always just kind of seems that people in Pittsburgh are more willing to put themselves out there and try something that not a whole other places will give it a shot. It's always known as a pretty DIY city in general, not just with music, but like, you know, just with art in general. I think there is something to be said about it. I don't know if it has something to do with, you know, the way the city's set up or what have you. I do think there is something to be said about Pittsburgh. And on that same note, though, I do think that it is entirely too cliquey sometimes. I do think that there should be some more overlap in between certain areas, and certain scenes in Pittsburgh don't mix as much as they should. I do think that that's kind of changed a lot in the last couple of years. You're seeing a lot more bands that, we wouldn't normally, like our buddies in Gator Shakes. They play like, just your, kind of EPID core, like just really fun, metalcore. We normally wouldn't crossed paths with those guys, but I think it was just a combination of the internet and, just kind of enjoying just being in a band, playing music in general. We crossed paths with these guys, and then it's just like, holy shit, like, I'm not really sure what point I was trying to make with that.
No, but Justin, you took the words out of my mouth, because I know Gator Shakes, didn't you guys just do like a virtual beer pong thing with them recently?
Yeah, why didn't you play with us?
I was doing stuff. Sorry.
Okay, you were so busy.
Yeah.
So busy hanging out inside,
Well, that's actually a good point, though. Like, yeah, you guys don't play anywhere similar, the same types of music, but I know you had that show together, and you like didn't you guys like play with each other live, sorta? I can't remember who was doing what.
Jake did vocals on a song of ours at Black Forge too.
Yeah, and it was so fun, and I remember being in that moment going, okay, I support this. Like, it's so different than what we're used to, where the clickiness can overtake the larger picture of, okay, we're all here to see musicians playing music. Don't worry so much about the box that they check, and see that they're having a ton of fun together and that they're just having a blast. That being said, my next question then is, what would each of you change, if you could change it, what would you change about the current musical ecosystem or the industry itself?
I mean, I guess it's hard to say without sounding. I mean, I'm not like complaining, but I mean, like the kind of music we play isn't wildly popular. It's like a niche genre these days. I mean, it would be great if this is what kids were into. But that would be cool, and it would definitely open some doors in terms of just the amount of people, and you connect with more people. But like if it was a kind of a more mainstream genre, but it's not. And honestly, if you're doing this to be playing a mainstream genre, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. I'm sure I'll think of something. I mean, there's shitty promoters, and there's shitty venues, and there's shitty bands, and there's shitty people, and like this and that, everywhere. But like, I don't know. I'm probably one of the most nihilistic, negative people you'll ever meet when it comes to my like worldview. But when it comes to my view of the scene, like I will fucking take Brian Howe to the plate for which one of us is more positive about it, because like I fucking love everything.
Oh man, that makes me smile. It really does. And I'm also very sad that you guys had your show canceled, obviously, with his group. And
sorry, what I meant was groupies. I wish that there was groupies. I wish that there was just groupies and free drugs, and yeah, that's my answer.
That's the perfect.
I wish that being in a local band is exactly what everybody that I work with, or like my aunts or uncles or whatever, think it is. Like, oh yeah, you guys probably like have a bunch of groupies, and you like, play crazy shows and make a bunch of money. And I'm like, yeah, sure. That's what happens.
I don't even argue. I'm like, yeah, that's what happens all the time. Like, honestly, like I got to leave this family Christmas party early because I have a backstage gangbang somewhere to get to.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like surprised at the amount of people that think that like, oh, you play, like people like, oh man, you must get all the girls and make a bunch of money, and it's like, but I mean, that just amuses me to a level that I can't even explain. I don't think there's anything that brings me more joy in this world other than French onion dip, and when people ask me questions like that.
Yeah, because it's, I don't know, like it is. I don't think it's ever been like that. Yeah, I think there's, Clear Channel, Ruin Radio, and everything like that. And it probably would have been a little bit easier to quote unquote make it or something like that in, the 80s, 70s, what have you, because record companies might have actually cared more about, seeking out new artists rather than just kind of producing them like they do now.
Yeah.
But
we get the internet now.
I don't think that it's ever really been like, other than for the really crazy big bands like, not everybody, not being in a band is going to be like Aerosmith for everybody. You know what I mean? Or like Guns. Like it's not like that.
Mhm.
But it's what I wish people understood more was just appreciated the art of it, and just kind of people just wanting to express themselves rather than it just being like, oh, you're a rocker, like you're, you know. And it's like, no, it's not about the aesthetic. It's about creating something with your friends that you really enjoy doing, and then it just so happens that a couple other people enjoy it as well. I wish that was kind of more understood, and also I really, 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 really wish Imagine Dragons just never existed ever. If you're asking me about the music, you know, the music industry as a whole, no Imagine Dragons, no 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. I agree with everything you just said. I probably shouldn't be so agreeable here, but I mean, really, you guys hit the nail on the head, I think, just in terms of what I look for in a local music community, but I guess also in the musicians that I enjoy watching. You know, you guys clearly have a
We
lot of
can't
fun
help
doing
it. We're just right.
Well, here's my serious question then. What defines success to you?
You guys go first.
That's a very good question. I guess success for me would be. See, that's so hard. I don't have any, and it's such a hard question for me to answer because I don't really have any sort of expectation of success
Mhm.
with what we're doing. It's just I love it. I enjoy it. I love performing and I like writing music. But I guess in terms of attaining a certain level of success, I don't know, just going to a random show that I've never really been to before, or just another show and just people saying, "Hey, it's the Jakethehawk boys," or "Hey, it's Jordan from Jakethehawk," or "Hey, I saw you play this one show this one time," and all those things have already happened to me. So I mean, that's how I would put it in my perspective.
Mhm.
I don't know how everyone else feels, but
I would
yeah.
say success for me in this regard would be people, you know, somebody, a complete, you know, stranger who has, you know, no prior, you know, exposure to us or our band at all. When they come up after watching us live and they enjoy what we create for the same reasons that we enjoy it and that we create it for, you know, not just people who come up and just like, hey, I really like your music. No, people are like, hey, I really like that one part that was kind of shoegazy, and I kind of enjoy that you guys, you know, aren't gonna be totally cookie cutter, but you still use, you know, there's some definite pop influence and some definite, you know, folk influence here and there. When people, the biggest compliment that I think that we've ever received, at least from my perspective as a band, when we were in Nashville on tour, we played this. What was it called again?
The Springwater Supper
Supper
Club
Club.
Lounge or
Yeah,
something like that.
cool hole in the wall place in Nashville. I love Nashville, obviously, because it's
Me
just
too.
a musician's town. Yeah, I love Nashville. But there wasn't really a ton of people there, and you know, it was a weekday show or whatever, and there was just a handful of people there, and there was an older guy there who, you know, you could just tell talking to him that he had been playing music his entire life. And this guy came up to us after our show and was just like hit the nail on the head on everything. He's like, "Hey, I can tell that you guys like Grand Funk Railroad, and you're really heavy without being too overly aggressive. And this part was really interesting, and it reminds me of this, 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 this." And I was like, I got that guy's respect. I'm golden. Like that, the guy who knows nothing about stoner rock or desert rock or whatever listened to it and gave it a completely organic, you know, summary. And it's all he was right. He hit it right on the head. And I'm like, well, shit. Like, you know,
Will
about
you
as
be our
successful
manager?
as I can think of. Yeah, really. Like,
Nice.
he obviously, and he was just tickled that people still do this, because he's like, man, I can remember being your age, and we went from town to town in a dirty van and played for, a handful of people, and here, it's still happening. I'm just like, well, yeah, that's what it's all about. So that was a big, that was success for me.
What success means to me is, I mean, what do I want? I want to, I want to tour as much as possible and have friends in as many towns as possible, and just go hang out with all my friends all the time and share my music with them and check out their music. But success is, I ran into this dude that I met once 3 years ago at Howlers. We were just hanging out, like it was some like random night. I think it was one of our vinyl nights or something. And he used to be in a band called Del Rios. And I haven't seen him in person in like 3 years. And just, he was like, hey, your song Recluse. He's like, I've really been listening to your album. I love that song. I've been real stressed out lately, and like going into work, I've been listening to that song every morning. It's really, really gets me going. And I'll, like, what's it, and I was like, cool, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, just the one guy, a song that I wrote meant something to somebody, and that's it. That's the most. So and yeah, I mean, I want to reach more people in that way. But I mean, even, that's it for me.
You guys have some really introspective answers, honestly. I love it. No, thanks for being honest with me about that. Because I typically will ask people.
What do other people say? Fucking tits and weed?
No, I mean, I think most people a lot of times they want to approach the question from like a black and white, maybe financial standpoint. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like I think it was Justin, you were saying earlier, the world we live in has changed. Bands are not picked up anymore by some shadowy record label exec standing in the back corner watching you from afar. That's just not how it happens
Flipping
anymore.
A coin.
Yeah, like waiting for you to come see them in the back. That's just not how it happens anymore. Those are the days of yore, and I think it has sort of reframed a lot of independent bands' understanding of what it means to have made it for them. I mean, a lot of people I have asked that question, yes, they do give a reply that's something to the effect of, if I can make a genuine connection with one member in my audience, maybe one in a week, but it's something that like really connects you heart to soul with a person, then that's maybe their measure of success. But I know how hard you guys work, and so that answer kind of doesn't surprise me at the same time. I guess I always like these sort of like philosophical deeper dives, but in any realm of your lives, who would be your biggest influences? It could be bands, it could be people, experiences, anything.
Satan.
Bro.
I would go really quickly. I mean, without thinking about it for more than a second. I've had a lot of people that have had a big impact on me. I don't know. I'd probably just go with my dad. I mean, my dad is a guitar. My dad plays guitar, and my dad got me into a lot of the music that I was into. That I'm into now. And he's just kind of a kind of weirdo introvert that just likes to make soup. And he's like, I don't know what everybody's bummed out about with all the social distancing stuff. I like this. I like just hanging out and making soup. No, I mean, and I think the older I get, the more I realize that I just kind of want to be like my dad. So without thinking about it too hard, I would say my dad is definitely the biggest influence on my musical taste and my personality. I remember when I think it was 94, the album Dogman by King's X came out, and I would have been 6. And I already liked King's X. Well, I mean, my dad liked King's X, and I knew that I liked King's X, and Dogman came out, and it was 94, 95. But I remember he got it at like this little records CD and like computer program place that isn't there anymore in Ross Township on McKnight Road. He put on the song Dogman, and I remember being like, whoa, this is way too heavy. Which, I just remember being Tiny Cam and being like, this is too heavy, man. and then I was like, oh wait, no, this is sick. But so I mean, I think that definitely probably had a pretty profound influence on me. And he like took me to see Joe Satriani at the Metropole when I was very small on the Crystal Planet tour, and I remember like sitting on his shoulders, and it was a 21 and up show. But I was so young. They were like, yeah, this kid's not drinking. So, so I guess I'm gonna blame him for everything.
Nice.
Shouts out Prometheus Jones Sr.
I'd say influence, yeah, maybe just a drive for me, and this could be taking a darker turn, but this is how I hate saying it's my outlet, because it's everyone's outlet, obviously, that's why we do it, but adversity, having to overcome adversity in my own personal life, having this as an expression, so I don't, I'm not so angry, or I'm, not, partying too much or anything like that. If I didn't have the experiences that I've had in my life, with, my vision issues and, getting bullied and stuff like that, and just kind of generally feeling like I never really belonged anywhere ever. Kind of that isolation, seeking out some kind of community, some kind of family in that regard. That's what drives me to want to create. That without thinking about it too much, that's just the first thing that popped in my head. It's just like, obviously I wouldn't be here if I didn't experience the things that I've experienced in my life, but also it's just like, this is kind of how I cope, yeah, it's I don't really know any other way to put it, but just I'd be a much more volatile person if I didn't have this, basically.
Jordan, what are you thinking?
Kind of similar to what Justin's saying, but I don't know. I enjoy making noise, I guess.
Typical
And
drummer, God.
I like to be heard. Sometimes I feel like I'm not heard too much in some regards, so I substitute with my drums. So I guess that would be my take on the question. It's really all I really have to say about that.
I like that you guys answered mostly with experiences as influences. Though I did want to briefly touch on, I know, John, you were the one that filled out the form, but you did mention some musical influences, and they're kind of everywhere. You had Caius, Stone Jesus, King's X, and then Porcupine Tree. And I know we've talked like prog rock stuff before, but that's an interesting blend, to say the least.
Well, I mean, that's just, I mean, as I, at least kind of come up with a lot of the ideas for songs, and that's just where I come from. But I mean, I know, we all have a lot of different influences, but that was just, obviously everybody listens to a ton of stuff, but like the things that I like in like songwriting and things that I look for, that I try to like produce, like, and like Porcupine, I don't even consider Porcupine Tree a prog band. They're just a good, and like people say King's X is a prog band, like they're not. They're just a good band, and I don't know if they're prog because they use interesting instrumentation, or they have like some post rock elements, or like some instrumental passages or whatever. But they're just good, interesting band. And I take away like King's X, like has excellent riffing and just like their whole like style. And then like Porcupine Tree, the way Steven Wilson is just a genius like producer, with just like the layering and use of like guitars and keyboards to create moods and that kind of stuff. And then you got like Caius with the whole wall of sound. I mean, just for being just guitar bass drums, like it's just an absolute wall of sound. Is something that really appeals to me, so I like that. And then I know the Stone Jesus album, Seven Thunders Roar, I think all three of us got into that heavily right around when we started the band, so I threw that one in there. But honestly, I mean, you can't nail it down to those four things, and that's just what I was just grabbing at straws there, but I'm sure anybody could add to that. Justin's gonna say, I don't know. You guys go.
I mean, musical influences is, I mean, if you're gonna pick a specific like bassist, probably Mike Watt from Minutemen. Even though we do not play music like that at all, it's not punk at all. It's not. I mean, it's groovy, but it's not funky. Mike Watt was basically like Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers would have never existed if there never was a Mike Watt. If there never was a Double Nickels on Dime, which is like a classic album in my regard, or in my opinion, and a lot of other people's. But it's kind of like one of the first funk punk players. I feel I have a lot of influence in my playing to Mike Watt, even though I'm not nearly that good. But my musical influences pretty much are a little bit more on the heavier side. I was like one of the only kids in my high school that was like actually into death metal, like not just hardcore and but like it was me and like one other guy that were like, hey, we really like Exhumed, or Nile is my favorite band of all time.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm Nile. Probably some, maybe the first two Gorgoroth albums, but like that, and then also hardcore punk. Those are the big ones. I know Jordan can attest to that. We cut our teeth playing music in a punk band. That's and you wouldn't know that talking to us because we don't really like go to a ton of punk shows anymore. I'm kind of disillusioned with a lot of the politics of punk bullshit, but like definitely I think it influences my playing for sure.
Just seeing if Jordan had a comment on that, because really.
Oh, I do, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
About it. I don't know. For me, at least, as you could say, musical influences. I love Chad Smith. I don't listen to the Chili Peppers as much as I should, but I do thoroughly enjoy his playing a lot. And along with Ian Pace as well, with Ian Pace of Deep Purple.
No, Ian Pace from the Beatles, yeah.
Yeah, him. But I don't know. I also take a lot of influences away from other like local and regional drummers that I see. Like I see the way how they play and the sounds that they're able to make, and I kind of try and take that and evolve that into my own little way, So I mean, it's because I'm always watching someone play, and whether I like them or not, I'm always trying to learn something from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm like, I guess you could say it's pretty much everybody. It's kind of weird. I don't know.
Well, I think I have that same approach as you guys are the people making the things I'm consuming as a music listener, and I try to treat every show as an opportunity to BS with my friends and listen to some great music, but I also tend to see it as a masterclass if I can, just like a clinic, like see what I can pick up and take back with me. So the way that question ended up going, it kind of started to roll me into what is typically my last question. So before I ask that last question, is there anything else you guys want to get out there about Jakethehawk, about your new material, anything going on, and then I'll hit you with my last question.
Hopefully, this is all up in the air, but if things are back to normal, we haven't even announced this yet because, who knows, but if things are back to normal by July, we're going to be playing on July 4th at Howlers with our buddies Almost Honest from Harrisburg and our buddies Stagecoach Inferno from Louisville, and my favorite Pittsburgh rapper Walkman. And that's going to be batshit crazy. And then in August, we're going to be, and this would better happen, in August, first ever Riff Zealot Fest at Cativo. It's going to be us and Curse the Sun and Brimstone Coven and Gator Shakes. And who else is on that?
Wax Brain.
And, oh, yeah, and our
Wax
boys
Brain.
Wax Brain from Morgantown. Holy shit, yeah, shouts out to Wax Brain. Shouts out to John Evans for being just like the most ridiculous guitar player I've ever seen.
Such
But
a
also,
nice
they're
dude, too.
dudes. They're dudes. Like they're.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that guy. I love those guys. Yeah, shouts out to all our friends because that's the best thing. It's a meme. It's really the success is the friends you made along the way.
Truly. If I don't know if I have a whole lot to get out.
Justin, you always have a lot to get out.
I don't know, but
It's a poop joke.
I want people to. Yes, I know I poop a lot. This came up in the last podcast too. Well, but just I don't know. We're cooking up a couple. We're cooking up some interesting things. I don't know. I'm really anxious for people to hear the stuff that we've recorded. We've been sitting on it for a minute now, and I'm just sort of like, I don't know. I just give it a pay attention is all I'm saying. Pay attention. We're cooking up some stuff.
Actually, after Jordan's done with his comment, I have something else.
I don't really have much to say. Everyone kind of hit everything I wanted to say. There is one point I did want to make before Cam has something to say here. Hot dogs are, in fact, sandwiches.
Thank you.
It does not matter. It does not matter what sort of thing it is. Anything between two pieces of bread is, in fact, a sandwich. So,
yeah, because a hinged loaf
does not
still a
impede.
sandwich.
Does
Yeah.
not change the fact that it is a fucking sandwich. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
How about a knuckle sandwich? You like that?
Yeah.
Cameron, your point.
Okay, well, just since Kelly said we could say anything, and I feel bad for making fun of Justin for farting a lot, I'll really quickly share this one with you. On that metal hammer thing I was watching, one of the questions they asked people was, "What is your weirdest road poop story?" And there were a bunch of really really hilarious ones. And I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, I actually have one of those, and she already knew it. But we were playing in Weston, West Virginia, which is a one-horse town that I didn't know existed, and there was a lot of strange things that happened this night. It was this like little bar, and it was very very don't tread on me, and it was like this little like shady bathroom, and I like really had to go. And it was just like, it was at night, and I was like, man, and there was like no lock on the door, and I was like, fuck this. So I went and I grabbed some toilet paper, and there was like a creek across the street behind this bar, and it was at night. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go shit in the woods. It's fine. I've done it before. I'll do it again. So I get there and I step off the road, and I immediately fall down like 2 feet into this tall grass. And I'm like, dude, not only am I going to like fall into this creek, but also I've already had Lyme disease once. Like I'm just standing here, just asking for a tick. So then I'm like, God damn it. So I run back in the bar. I'm in this bathroom. There's no lock on the door. And then I see the door start to open. So I throw a foot up on the door, and I'm like holding the door shut with my foot while I'm taking care of business. And then we played the show, and it was great.
Thank you for sharing that, because in the plus 40 episodes I've done now, I actually really have never shared any of my poop stories, and I'm not sure I want to, but anyone who knows me in real life and gets me at a particular moment in time will know that I actually have like an embarrassingly large amount of them. So I might have to.
Next time we see you in person,
yeah,
we'll have a throwdown.
You can hold me.
We can trade stories. I have plenty of poop sick stories. So
I'm looking forward to it. Well, I'm just excited to hug all of my friends basically when this is all over. That's like it's isolating, man. It sucks. I'm ready to tell poop stories again in person. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this question. It's always my last one. So if you had to choose 3 albums only to listen to for the rest of your life, what would they be?
You guys want to go first? I already know mine.
My Aim is True by Elvis Costello, Epicus Doomicus Metallicus by Candlemass, and Double Nickels on Dime by Minutemen.
Wow, rapid fire.
Jordan?
Shit. Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Hell yeah.
By the Chili Peppers. It is just great from start to finish.
Oh, okay, yeah, good call.
Welcome to Sky Valley, just because that's my favorite Kaius album. What would the third one be? Shit. I don't know what my third one would be.
If you want John to answer, and then we can come back to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No question, I would take Aqualung by Jethro Tull. I would take my favorite album of all time, which is the first album by the band America, which is titled America. And I would take, I would say either Gretchen Goes to Nebraska by King's X or After the Gold Rush by Neil Young. I guess I'll go probably Gretchen with that one. So, yeah, that's my answer. Hard Day's Night's really good too. But yeah, I think that's where it's at. Maybe In Absentia by Porcupine Tree, but no, I mean I think we're gonna say Aqualung by Jethro Tull, no fucking question. Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, and then number one is America by America is my favorite album of all time.
All right, Jordan, you're in the hot seat.
LA Woman by The Doors.
All right.
Nice.
Wow, that's a hell of a mix.
That is a great album. That is fantastic.
Can I say that I did? There is a close tie between Epicus Dimicus Metallicus by Candlemass and Annihilation of the Wicked by Nile. That's it's tough for me to.
It is a great
we're
record.
gonna go. Yeah, if we're going Desert Island Records, it's kind of tough. Epicus Dimicus Metallicus definitely, but actually now I might probably say it's probably Annihilation of the Wicked. I might change my mind. That's why that's a very hard question.
It is. That's why I always save it for last, so you can't get mad at me earlier in the interview and then hate me for the next hour. So
I was ready. I'm gonna go, dude. I'm gonna go listen to America by America right fucking now. That's the kind of album that whenever I'm in a record store, I'll just buy another copy of it.
That's true love. Well, guys, I am really looking forward to seeing you all in person again at some point. But seriously, thank you for sharing your thoughts. And we live in a weird time, so music is getting me through a lot of things. It doesn't quite measure up to seeing it played live, but what can you do? So really, thanks.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Stay safe.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with something. I'm just scrolling through Facebook and somebody just posted the words supercalifragilistic existential crisis.
Oh, that's great.
We'll end it at that because that's probably what we're all going through. So thank you guys again for joining me on your Sunday, and wash your hands, stay safe, and
wicked.
Hopefully I'll see you in person before the end of this year.
See you,
Toodles.
dog.
Thanks for having us.
I think the fact that I really need to get out and see some local music is probably palpable. So if you're stuck at home like the rest of us are, why don't you go check out my friends in Jakethehawk and listen to their music? You can do that by looking them up on Facebook and other social media. Their band is just one word, Jakethehawk, all smushed together. Their music can also be found at jakethehawk.bandcamp.com, and you should go check out their riffs. Hopefully, we will all be back to seeing live music soon. Stay safe. Thanks for listening.